Oh yeah, start her up. All right, now for a subject with which I'm intimately familiar, errors, ops and conditions. He should be back. Hey, there you go. Yeah. Just in time. Okay, so type errors. Type errors refer to something you're trying to do that's incorrect with involving the type of variable. One really good one that I've seen quite a few times is unsupported operand types for, say, float and string, variable and string, things that you can't add together. And most of the time this comes from when I'm trying to add, say, x equals 2 and y equals 3. X plus y, oops, y is not defined. That's another really, golly, I'm serious. We'll get it, there we go, okay, x plus y, outstanding. So it's saying, look, you can't add an integer in a string. This is something that I love about Python. I don't know if it's like OCD or what, but it's strong typing. If you work with PHP, I feel for you in this area, because PHP will just take that and be like, 2 plus 3, what's the deal? It'll convert that type on the fly. Python is very stringent about that, and I love it. Keeps us honest as coders, keeps us going down the right path. A lot more secure that way. So, type error. That's one you need to get familiar with because it'll come up a lot if you're anything like me. All right. So if we hit this, we know that we need to work on our typing. We need to look at that and say, okay, what am I trying to pull together here? What's it saying here? What's it mentioning? Integer and string. It's saying line 1. It's the only line we're using here. So with this, it's saying you're trying to add an integer to a string. Being able, again, repeat myself here, being able to look at that and say, okay, that's what that means. That's where it's at. That's what I need to fix. That's invaluable. You work with Python or any language for that matter. Name error. This is one I get sometimes. So say you've got a for loop and you're saying info, add to info, add to info, but you forget to say info is a string at the top. If you just cut right into the adding to it, so non-defined string. It doesn't know the string from Adam, and I haven't defined it, obviously, but I'm trying to add 1 to it. It's like, look, hold on, right? I don't know what this means. I don't know if this is a, I don't know if PHP will do this. Signs point to yes, but I think it'll just say, okay, well, it equals 1, because obviously you wanted a number there. I could be lying to you there, but Python's like, no, you need to define this first, so then we have to say equals 0. Is that going to work? We good to go there? Is it going to say, okay, you're good? Or is it going to say type error? Because up here I said equals, in quotes, I defined it as a string. Right? So that's the difference there. If you put quotes around it, it's going to call it a string. If you do that, it's going to be an integer. So plus 1, it's 1. All right, so that's another one. All right, the point of familiarization here is so that we don't have the deer in headlights look when our code doesn't run. You get used to it after a while, trust me. So indentation error. This is another thing about Python. So yeah, it is. Gosh, I forget the official term, but it's white spacing is not an option. Right? So you're going to have, see this one, write us a little script here. Give me my memory, please. All right, so this is a good one here. This is a little web server that I wrote for one of the challenges. Yeah. From profanity, import profanity. I like to filter that stuff out of team names and stuff, so I thought that was funny. I'm actually importing. Anyway, but you can see how this is, right? So I'm redefining a class, or actually here I'm defining a handler based on the base HTTP request handler. If you guys know what that means. But tab space, definition, tab space, tab space. So that's how Python reads that. It has to be that way. It has to be consistent, right? I've got get it here to insert 4 actual spaces every time I hit tab, because I don't like the whole tab character thing. It's not, you can't just throw it in the Windows editor and work with it easily. So what I do is, this actually equals 4 spaces. As long as it's consistent. You just can't have a tab space, use 5 spaces here, and then 4 spaces here. Let me run this script real quick. And I'll take 1 out of that. 1 out of the whole entire script. So where is this? Exit out of that. So let's go to projects, CTF, and service. Indentation error, right? It's going to say, hey, somewhere in the script, line 29, you tried to put this in here and it doesn't fit under any kind of indentation, right? So that's I love it. For me, it makes my code clean. It makes it readable. Oops. So now you can look at any Python script anywhere, and usually, unless they came directly from Perl and they're trying to put everything in one line, you can tell what's going on. If, else, I'm trying here, exception here. So something to keep in mind. I wish I could remember the official term for that, but it's space delimited.
White space delimited.
Yeah, something like that. But Guido's not watching. All right, so syntax error. So if you'll see this one quite a bit. This means that you're typing in something that's just you're using it in an invalid way. So here I am using 1 equal sign, which actually defines 1 equals 2. I think what was intended to be put here was okay, 1 equals 1. It's going to say, if 1 equals 2, put 2 equal signs, it becomes an evaluation at that point. So the reason I couldn't say this is because you can't redefine 1 because it's a literal. It's something that doesn't change. So that syntax error was a little more cryptic. You have to know what a literal is and why that is. And it's not all that bad to go and go to a Python site and Google this kind of stuff to understand what the syntax error is. That's just going to make it to where when you're troubleshooting, you're going to be able to just hop right through these. And a lot of times, it'll take me 5 minutes to throw together a huge script just because I'm familiar, not just with the functions and then with the different modules, but because I'm familiar with the errors. Hugely helpful. It's not going to print ha because 1 doesn't equal 2. Let's try this. There we go. Okay, and this is another thing. When I'm debugging a script, what I'll do is say, all right, I want to test this function, then I want to get out of it. Or I want to know when it performs this session, this particular function or whatever. I'll make it print out ha or bookmark or some kind of weird string so that when it gets down to a certain section, okay, I know that it did this, or maybe even print out the value of whatever you're trying to parse at that point. Say you're doing an RE, a regular expression, and you want to evaluate if that shows up or not. what you would do, I guess, is you know, you want to print out whatever came out of that evaluation before you're testing it to see, okay, well, this is what I'm working with, and this is what's going into it. You kind of see what I'm talking about? You're printing it out at each step of the way to make sure that it's coming out the way you're imagining. And using these bookmarks is a good way to do that. Does that make sense? All right. So, trapping. It's like Pokemon. So this is the structure of a trap, right? Try, accept, else, finally. So, and I'm leaving out one thing there. So you start out with your try. You're going to try something. A, B equals 1. Okay? Accept, and we're looking for a specific type of error here. Now, if we were just looking for any exception, we would just say, you know, accept, and then a colon, right? No matter what happens, if it busts, if something breaks, then you do this. Generally not, you know, the best idea to just have that. What you want to do is plan for each type of error that you know is going to show up, to have specific return based on specific errors. And then maybe at the bottom, I like to have an accept for an unplanned error. Just say, hey, Adam, you need to code better. You know? So if it gets through this, gets all the way through that try block, this is going to show up. This will show if there aren't any errors, right? So if you throw an else in there, that means that no errors occurred in your try block. Finally, this happens regardless. This is pretty awesome. So say if you open a socket and you define your socket, your connection, and in the try loop, or maybe you do that outside of try loop. I'd throw it in a try loop. Anyway, define your socket, and you try to connect to the SSH server, and say it fails. Well, no matter what happens, you're going to want to close that socket. You're going to want to disconnect. You're going to want to clean things up. So that's usually what the finally is for. And else, you're going to want to print out, hey, this password worked. Kind of get where I'm going. Throw this in a loop. Try a whole junk load of passwords. This is a good way to brute force, pretty much. Let's see. I don't know if you could throw a continue. Anyway, but this is a way to trap errors, and it's good it's good to do this. Let's see. I'm just kind of throw it in there. Any questions about this? About how to work with errors? So if I see an error comes out in my unexpected errors, and it says something like indentation error or something. Of course, that's not a good one. See, I got a type error when I tried my first part of that, which is that's what that would give you, right? That I would add something in here. If it ends up a type error, if the user inputted fluffy money feed instead of a number where he was supposed to insert a number, then that's going to come up with a different type of error. You just want to plan for it accordingly.
So if that kicks out the error, it's going to tell you what line the error is in?
This right here? Yeah, this EX right here, that's going to show you that. There's also a module called traceback that you can import before when you run your script. And traceback will let you say if you want to just get the error message itself, or you just want to see what line it was. It's a really good module to use to give out very clean and specific error messages. So, traceback is worth looking into. Getting ahead of myself. All right, so I had a print ha statement to verify certain parts of code are executing. Echo a variable to see what its value is before the issue. And echo the same variable after each operation. I've accidentally converted things into strings and different types that weren't compatible with the function I was trying to run against it, and didn't notice it until I started. All right, what is this? What's the type? What is it? What does it contain? Before it goes into the function, I was like, oh wait, I'm changing this up, and I shouldn't be doing that. All right. Let's see here. I don't know what error I was looking for here. Let's play a game called Random Thinking. Okay, operators. So operators, you know, you'll find these in any language. They're essential, but this is how you use them in Python. And this is the structure for it. So, if tuna not in cat bowl, so say cat bowl is a list of items that are inside the cat bowl. So, that's one way you can check against a list. Does that make sense? So if you got, let's throw this out there. Bowl equals, okay, we got a hairball, we got a toy, we got a mouse, right? And one of those else is in there. So let's do an evaluation. Let's say mouse in cat bowl. True, right? Because that variable or that string is in that list. Now, you can do this to say cat bowl 0, that's hairball, right? The first object in that list is hairball, right? So you can check it against a string. So if hair, so this portion of this string is inside here because this right here is a string, right? And all I'm saying there is you can't just say if hair and cat bowl because it's not evaluating it against each variable. It's evaluating it against the entire list. Does that make sense? Do you see the difference there? Not a lot of cat guys in here today. I think I did. But, right, so it's not looking for hair in each one of these. It's just looking for the string hair in the list as a whole. All right, so
it could be partial word. It doesn't have to be the whole word hairball. It's only looking for that string H-A-I-R.
Yes, just looking for that. So, but if you were just looking at one string, say if this, I pulled this out of the list. I guess I made it a little confusing there. But this is just one string. This is the string hairball, right? If you're looking for something within just that string, right, that we've got there, it'll find it, right, because it's evaluating against just that string. But if you're saying, hey, look for hair in this list, it's just going to look and see if that word hair is in the list at all. And since it's not, it's going to say false. Okay.
Yeah, when you do it that way, it's just looking at each individual item, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a big thing too. When I create a list of tuples that contains the hashes that I've cracked, I want to make sure that I don't put the same hash in there twice because I pull from a lot of different dump lists, right? So there you go. If hash in capital, that doesn't make sense. If hash in hashes, don't add it to the hashes, right? So a little practical application there. All right, so that's just the first one. I could swear I had this plugged in. I'm losing battery. Am I? Oh. Whew, turn it on. Good. So this is basically how you're going to do it. And again, this is all tab delimited. It's got to be consistent. It could be 4 spaces or whatever. But so if tuna in cat bowl, if tuna not in cat bowl, that's kind of how they want the syntax to roll there. Elif, true and false, or so you can have these guys in parens to say true and false, which is never going to be true, or another evaluation, not going to happen, right? So, and or, you've got your else, for, in. So these are the operators, and let's see. You guys understand how the operation's going, right? I'll just run through them real quick, just for doing it. If it doesn't pass this evaluation, another if evaluation. If it doesn't pass that, then it automatically falls to the else statement. In this if statement, these both must be true, or this must be true. And in this one, obviously, if it's not in that list, if you take out the not, if it's in that list, that's how the wording goes for that. So,
Does it matter if you run else or else if first in the structure? I know the reason I ask is like I've had C++, HTML, C Sharp, and I know it makes a difference if I run else and then else if.
Right. Else must be the last one. Else has to be the last one. Playing Spaceballs again? Wow. He's holding off the last Starfighter. I want to watch it. And so he's like, dude, we'll wait till after the class and then we'll start it up. So you think later. All right, yes, this has to go in this order. If's got to be up top. Else, LF, mess me up.
Well, that's what was throwing me with the L.
Yeah.
I called it else if, but
right.
the L if. I figured that was a structure we had to follow here, so I just wanted to clarify, make sure.
Python just abbreviates it smaller.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. So those are your operators. Conditionals. These are just your evaluations. Not sure why I had each one of these up here, but all right. So not equals, greater than, less than. This is an evaluation. If you just have one, it's going to think that you're trying to assign that value. Remember the error that we got earlier? We were trying to assign a value to 1 when all we were trying to do is to find out if 1 equals 2. And this is not equals. So this is important too. This is for integer operations. If you're trying to make to see if two integers are the same, you're going to use these. Call me insane, but I think you can use this as well with integers.
Mm-hmm.
So if that makes sense, equals, not equals. Yeah, I think I got all my conditionals in there. There's a triple equals, which I've been careful. But okay, so for loops, you guys are familiar with loops. The guys have been working with other ones. So in a for loop, these are good. So say, keep going back to my script there. Okay, so X is our list of passwords. Wheat, cup, cupcake. So these are all the passwords I use for everything. Okay.
Awesome.
Good to know.
So for your email address and X. So for each password in X. Okay. What do we mean to? Wow. What am I doing? Okay, so it's good there. Okay. So for P and X, and you know, all we did was print it there. But in this loop, it's going to go and assign the next value in the list to the variable P. So P is always going to be whoever's up to bat, right? So in here, you could have a function that says attempt SSH login, right? And in that function, you would return a true or false. If it failed, it'd probably be a lot quicker to use like a try except type rule to say, okay, try SSH connection, blah blah blah. Yeah, that's going to fail miserably, except, and probably not what you want to do for every one of them, but so in this try thing, if it failed the SSH connection, then it would die and go to the next password. But in this, somehow you would want to say, if it's successful, then break out of the for loop and say, hey, Adam, this password worked. You can get into their Ubiquity server. True story. But I mean, that's basically how you would just on the fly brute force something from a password list. So I guess that's a practical use for a for loop. Let's see, it's print P. Let's go with if P equals cupcake. No, we want to break it up in the middle. Buttercup. break. So as soon as it hits Buttercup, prints it out, it hits that break, will break you out of that for loop and cease all, it'll break out of the for loop and then continue with the line below it. Or continue outside of that for loop. There's also continue, which kind of looks like that. What continue will do, you would put that at the top of your loop. Why don't I go ahead and do that? If it's Buttercup, continue, and then print P. Okay. So it didn't print it because it continued to the next iteration in that for loop because it saw Buttercup and never got down to the print statement. Okay. So this is important too because a lot of password lists I get, and my parsing is not always 100%. I may have a blank value in there or something that's like a one-character deal. So I'll say if not p strip, then continue. And what p strip is, strip, remember, takes out the spaces and the line continues. Strips that stuff out, and if all it is just a blank, then p will be false. P will be empty. And so that'll come up and say, well, if not p, continue. So that's basically saying if p is empty, just go to the next one. And so that's a real good application. So you're not trying blank, well, I guess blank passwords would be a good thing to test for, but in my situations, it's usually not. All right, so break. All right. Got to be a way to simplify this if statement. If Easy Cheese in shopping list or crackers in shopping list. We all know that both of those need to go in the shopping list. So we need to simplify that. This is a way to do two evaluations in one. Now, if you look at this as a whole, it may just look like Greek. Okay, what are we trying to do here? But it's a two-part. So for A in item list, you just take that for A in item list. So it's going to go through each item in the list and assign it to the variable A, right? So that's one portion. And then for A in item list, if A is in shopping list, then return A. This is a really handy operation so that you don't have to have multiple if statements and all this goofiness. Okay? So our item list would contain, it would be a list containing Easy Cheese crackers, all the other essentials. And it would iterate through that list. If it's in shopping list, it would return it. Okay, do we see where that section's up? Does that make sense, guys? Display it up there again for 3 parts. Oh. Okay.
Leave that up there for me.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Though initially it's complex, it is considered a clean way to iterate this, to find similarities between two lists. And at the risk of having this in the very next slide, you can say, so item list equals Easy Cheese and pies, and then shopping list. I got to compare it with what my wife's got on there. I'm not even sure if that's spelled right. Wow. Of course, we can go with the traditional for A in item list, if A in shopping list. right? And it'll say which ones are in there. Or I could say something like, if any of these come to be, you just give me a true or false, right? And then that's one way to say, if she's batting 100, if she's just got one of the things in there, let me know.
Can you do that with while loops too?
While loops. That's interesting. I would say...
Because I've seen that done in PHP, but never Python, so I was just...
No, that's a good one. That's a good one. How would you break out of it, though? I would say no up front, but how would you break out of it?
Keep a counter, and if the counter is met, break.
The while doesn't really
Not
assign.
sure.
The for is going to assign the value for whatever value in the item list to A.
This is to return an evaluation of similarity, so I don't think it would. That's a good question, though, man. I like how you think. It's definitely outside the box. All right. So I like loops, too. I like dictionaries more, but loops are awesome. All right.
Can you go back to that?
Yes, sir.
Your, this script.
Roger that.
All right, so if you're inside a script, what do you need to print right there? So you're getting true output
Okay.
here, but what do you print if you're inside a script?
So this is an evaluation.
So you have to assign it to something?
She's on the right track.
Thank you.
She's got easy cheese in there, so she's on the right track. So, if not, yeah.
But then
So this, it's what's known as an evaluation. This up here creates a list, but if you put any around it, like I said, evaluation, you can, if you want to get stupid with it, at the risk of taking this way too far, for each item that's returned out of that, print X, or do some kind of evaluation on that. Because that's returning a list, right? So, all right. So with files, and like I said, it's either working with APIs or parsing data. And since we do a lot of pen testing, a lot of how can I put this? Evaluation of gathered intelligence. We want to be able to take a file, quickly iterate through it for specific values or calculated credit card numbers. How do I put that down? We want to look for specific things that are in these files to be able to tell our customers, this is no good.
Email and an Ashley Madison file.
Yeah, all right. So basically, here's your with statement. Now, this may be a little weird, but bear with me, right? So everything inside this block can use F as the open file at this point. So you can say f.readlines, f.write. I can throw that up there. So f.write, and then put your string in here. Of course, F's not defined there. You could always go with F equals open log.text. Let's see why that is later. And then F.write. Cheeseburger eating. Wow. All right, so if we go and we look at the file log.txt, it's going to have that in it, which problem. Cheeseburger eaten. So, and with f.write, usually you're going to want to put like a line, like a /n after you write to that file, because it's really not going to respect that. If you eat a bunch of cheeseburgers, it's just going to be a cheeseburger eaten in one line. So put your line breaks in there. So f.write, f.read, F.read will give you the entire context of whatever file you've opened. F.read lines. .read, usually I'll take that if I want to run a regex against the entire file, or yeah, there's ways to look for stego in that. You know, you can use it to look for stego. You can use it to do different things.
You can use this look for stego?
Yeah,
Really?
it's a little complicated when I'm letting on, but there are modules to look for through meta. I actually use the imaging library to pull out meta from images in RAR. So what else can you do with that? Anyway, in our example, I'm not going to rely on my recollection right now. If we want to take F, we've defined this, right? And so we want to take, easy. If we want to take each line in this file, we can say f.readlines. And what this is called it's a generator? No, that's an iterator. My bad. So this is going to iterate through every line in the file and assign each line in turn to L. And I'm just going to print that line. Basically, if you're reading a password list, a dump, then this is where you're going to be performing your parsing. Let's see. Yeah, data. There's nothing more I can say about that. Right. So, but as soon as we exit this for loop and we exit this, F becomes nothing. It closes the file and it's done. That's what's so beautiful about this, is that you don't have to go back and close the file after you're done. You don't have to worry about cleanup. This cleans itself up after you've finished, after you've come out of this block. So it's a really good way to do things. Admittedly, I don't do it quite as often as I should, but it's a very clean way of opening a file, writing to it, and then closing it. All right, what else do we have? Okay, yeah, so I told you about the W and the R. So if you open a text for writing, obviously you want to use the R. Wow. I can spell, I promise. You want to use the W to open a file and make it writable if you're going to write to it. The R, I haven't really used that because if you just use this, it's going to open it for reading anyway. I guess what would be more relevant is the A. The difference between that being, say you open log.txt for writing, for W. It's going to create a new file called log.txt and write whatever you've got in there. But if you open it with an A, that's append. It'll open that file. If it exists, it'll just append the log entries to it. So if you close your application and then you want to fire it up again and capture logs, it's not just going to blow away the old log file. It's going to append to it. So you've got open file write, open file append, which would be the A, open file read, which would be just what happens by default, or just open file.txt, which would open it for read. Okay, so get ahead of myself again. So yeah, you can print out the entire contents of a file if you just open it, .read, and print it out. That'll just mark the whole file up, and you'll be able to see the entire contents. Yeah, and these two guys right here are one-liners. You write the word "ha" in all caps to that file. This will append to the file. Just a couple of practical examples there. All right, so you will see this. Why would you see that? I put reading instead of writing. Ugh.
You didn't open up the W permission?
That's a good one. Yeah. It'll gripe at you about that too. It'll let you know that you can't open it for reading if you don't have permissions. That's excellent. This is an I/O error. File not open for writing if you can't write to it. Reading if you can't read from it. So yeah, no deer in headlights if we see this, right? We know what this means. We just have to look at the permissions, maybe look at the way we're opening the file. If we didn't put the W in there and we're trying to write to it, you'll see this or a variation of it. So, real world. And how do they do this? All right, so check a banner against a file containing banners from known vulnerable services. This is good. So we got a text file with vulnerable banners. Does PPTop do that? I can't remember which tool he was. No, Yasuo. Yasuo does that. Anyway, so you would just open this file, right? Cleanly open it. We're going to iterate it. Open it as F for line in F. If line in banner, then print, hey, service is vulnerable. Here's the banner, right? And if our banners list, if our vulnerable banners.txt has maybe the banner and it's separated by like 3 colons and then some kind of explanation for it, we can come in here and say, for line in F, vuln equals line.split by the 3 colons 0. Description equals line.split 1. So you're taking the description part of that because you're splitting it by that 3 colons. And then say, if the vuln is in banner, then print service is vulnerable and have description there. So we know what the vulnerability is going with that. So it's not just, hey, it's vulnerable. Well, guess what's vulnerable, right? It's literally guessing. Yeah. This is one I like to use just on the fly. So,
Question about
what's up?
general file handling, opening and closing.
Right.
When does it automatically close? When do you have to close it?
When do you have to?
When are you going to accidentally leave a file open? You know, when do you have to watch for that?
Well,
when like your one-liners, do those automatically close it?
yeah. If it's a one-liner, open, blah blah blah, right? It's done after that.
So there's no explicit close. You want to put a close in a finally statement or something like
There
that.
is one, but you don't always have to call it.
Say it again.
There is an explicit call to close the file, but you don't always have to call it.
Right. So f.close would be how you would close that file, like you said. For one-liners, if it's the persistence of the object, if that makes any sense. So if you're saying x equals the open file, open x equals open etc password r, and you're defining that variable, defining that object as the open file, that's going to keep the file open until you say x.close. And yeah, with this stuff, as soon as you exit the block there, it's done. The one-liner, open blah 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 dot read. That's not assigning the open file to an actual object, so you're not keeping the file open. So yeah, so this is a true story. AIX system, company that I did some testing for. Yeah. What we did, gosh, I may still have that script. That would be cool, wouldn't it? The entire file system, we suspected that it might have, PII on there, credit card data, and the old crap came down from top, and they said, well, look for this, see if it's in there. And I won't lie to you, it was a blast digging through that file system because we were, competing so you could find it first. So I ended up finding it with, it's not in here. I don't think it is. Oh, wait. Crap. Oh, well. Let's see. So basically, just iterating through that file, through the files in the file system, looking for credit card information within certain file types. That's one application you can do. If I had that, I could show you how we were calculating. There are actual numbers that you can calculate whether something is a credit card number or not. If it's a specific length, if the number is able to be broken down and calculated in a certain way. So that's basically what we did. Open up the file, look through these journal entries and see if you see 16 character values, and if that's, or in a for loop, right? If that 16 character value is, you can break it down. I was using another function to evaluate whether it's a credit card number or not. Then, it would echo something that probably shouldn't be repeated, like gold, haha lols, or something like that. But that's basically how that was accomplished. All right, so there are real world uses for this. Let's just iterate that. Please let me do a slideshow. Yay. Okay. All right. So, Python challenge, and another 3 examples. One. So whoever can give me the most number of examples, we'll get some more Nigerian Prince socks. I hope nobody gets this because I'm going to wear these. My wife will have a fit. She'll be like, "What's wrong with you?" All right, so, and guys, if you did bring your laptops, if you can just tell me 3 ways, then I'll accept that. I'll accept it. I don't know if the other guys will accept it, but okay. So, create 3 examples of a trapped error. All right, trap it 3 different ways. And then a bonus, if you want to differentiate yourself, you think somebody else will come up with 3 ways and you just want to get out ahead and get these beautiful socks, show me 3 different error types. You got 5 minutes, and as soon as the bar gets to the right, my mad PowerPoint skills will show you the time's up.
You have an ink pen?
I haven't. I lied. Over here, sir.
You want me? Thanks, Chris.
Okay.
Do you want to pause the recording for the 5 minutes? Okay.
Should we pause the recording?
You just want 3 errors?
Yeah, the wording's a little cryptic, I admit that. So 3 examples, say like, trap this type of error, and handle it, trap this type of error. Or you trap the same error 3 different times. The bonus would be show 3 different error types. They're still on Spaceballs, so.
Great.
Anybody stuck? Need guidance? Donuts? Hugs? My name's not Dave, but. He had a thing going a while that was awkward hugs. I'm pretty sure every hug was awkward. oh, by the way, that shirt that I gave you, if you need a different size or something, they said just bring it by and they'll switch it out.
Okay, because large ain't gonna work.
Man, okay. So,
You can lose. One's my personal favorite. Oh, it is.
You want to see them now or wait till time's up?
okay. Let's we might have to remember the order of these things. Oh, hey, time's up. Wow. All right, so I was handed this. You got it? All right. So why would the second one be an error? I'm guessing because
Just the
triple X?
yeah.
Okay. Okay, let's put these up. Well, before I do this,
Actually, I think I forgot something on that one, so if he beats me, just give him the socks.
okay.
Now that you talk about that one.
No, let's go back and look. All right, so who all had solutions? You had one? All right,
I only had two.
type error and syntax error? Yeah. Looks good. Does that run?
Yeah.
Sweet. All right. So you had two. That's awesome. Anybody else? Okay, close to the vest. I understand. All right, so yours were
Type,
which ones?
type error, name error, and attribute error.
Yes, you had attribute error. That's a
Yeah.
good one.
No, it's not. It's horrible.
I got that too. Trying to append to a tuple.
Yes.
There.
Yeah.
Okay. So the attribute error, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right, so
It'll get you in real life too. Anyways.
oh yeah, data planning. It's all about planning. Planning the structure of your data, how you're going to store it, and what object types you're going to use to store it is very helpful. Good plan. All right, anybody have any more solutions? Nope? Okay. All right, so we had syntax error, we had type error, our friend up here. I just asked you, man, and I can't, attribute error, that was yours. Okay. Attribute error is one that he got trying to append to a tuple. And remember I said tuples are immutable, right? So you can't add, remove, change anything to them. And then our friend up here has arithmetic error. What's the symbol? Y equals, is that 0?
Yeah.
Divided by 0, right? Okay, so arithmetic error divided by 0, which is brilliant. Triple X equals a list, and then
I think I messed that one up. I meant to I put the list, and then I was going to say if 3 was in the list. Print. I forgot to print that out.
okay. Then you try to import negative 123.
Yeah.
That'll do it. All right. So, okay. Anybody have any more?
You'll have to flip a 4.
Yeah, I know, right? Well, technically you've got 2.5, right? But that's worth a pair of socks.
Sweet.
Nigerian prints. Enjoy
My
them.
girlfriend will hate me for wearing these.
Wear them on your hands, man.
And your girlfriend.
Yeah.
Is that an offer or?
new girlfriend. I hear you.
Are there certain types of errors that don't get captured with a try except?
Every error will get caught. Unless it's an indentation error, and that happens outside of the actual
Yeah,
script.
so I got the indentation error. I had to comment that out in order to get to the next errors because it wouldn't. The way I'm running it, it would just stop after the indentation error and kick out. So I had to comment that out, run the script again, get to the next one, and then the next two it prints out in different fonts because I get a concatenation error.
This man's claiming to have errors that I've never seen before.
So here's my script, and I'll run it over here. So if I uncomment this, then it'll kick out. So I comment it out.
So the second line under your try is no space twice. The print block, if you put 2 more spaces, you'll get rid of the indentation error.
That was on purpose.
Oh.
That was one of my errors.
Oh, really? Okay.
So,
yeah.
But it quit after that. It didn't come down here because it doesn't capture the.
Right. Because it happens outside the
But
script.
so which one of these is not getting spit out? So I have.
We'll run your script real quick.
So this one comes out in blue.
Okay.
This one gets dumped out. Or it's a stack trace with it.
File object has no attribute and.
Yeah, so that's the attribute error.
Okay. So what you're doing here, and this is good. So your try except, your exception is looking specifically for a type error.
So I need to be looking for an attribute error.
Exactly.
So I didn't capture the attribute error.
Yeah.
Is there a generic error?
Yeah, except, right?
Except, yeah.
Yeah.
But generally, unless you're, you never want to put like an except pass, unless you know, it's either very dirty or you know exactly what's going to happen there.
Is pass like throw?
It's pass like what?
Pass, and you just throwing it to something else that's in
No op.
You're just ignoring it.
upper of the
Yeah.
stack. Oh, okay.
No
Can you
op.
capture it later from that?
Capture the.
What he's saying is if you do a pass, can you capture that later on?
Yeah, so does it throw that exception further up in the
Does it follow
stack?
it up?
Yeah, both
No.
that.
No, if you pass in that exception block, I'm pretty sure that it's lost. So it's like ignoring my wife when she asks me what I want for the store. It doesn't get added to the shopping list. All right, so these are 3 of the things that I come up with. They're all the same, but yeah, I tried to. This is a good one. I've got 3 things here and 2 things here. Obviously, that won't work. Somebody tell me what exception type that is. And then I'm trying to add 3 plus hello, which is, yeah. And the third one I'm pretty sure is syntax, because I like that one a lot. You're trying to perk something.
And I party.
Yeah. Sometimes I think I had to like define a function called print and just have it print something out. So. Yeah. Good stuff. Okay, here's another one. And I'm all out of socks, but I have candy and then. So we've got bracelets, but I got one he used with a different filament. So if you want to be fabulous, gentlemen, or if you want your girlfriend or wife to be fabulous, they will love you for this. Okay, this isn't safe. But yeah, pretty much anything I got up here you can have as a prize. I don't know how many.
We'll take the bag then.
How about the bag?
Yeah.
You can't have the bag.
Well, you said anything you have up there.
That's got in it, man.
Semantics.
I've never had biscuit roll before, so. Or Tudors, my bad. I've got like, man, there's like 3 of these things.
Yeah, you got 2 for each of us. I didn't even finish one.
Wow. Cold biscuits? Well, let's do it. Sorry. Yeah, let's give you some time here. All right. 3 examples of data sets and tell why they would be better suited for a list or dictionary. So this is going to take some thinking. The data set would be a piece of data, maybe something you're parsing. Think of it this way. A couple of instances where you would use a list, maybe an instance where you would use a dictionary, and why it would be better in that case to use a dictionary. And I'll tell you, data parsing, and like I said, I do a ton of just sifting through junk. Because a lot of time that's the loot. You go through a company, pulled out a bunch of documents, or just have a Python script to go through and look for goodies. And it's unstructured, and it's a mess. So you've got to figure out, what's my data structure? How am I going to store this? So this is step one of most of those engagements, or most of those operations. So you're, just for example, I'll give you guys a freebie. You're iterating through a bunch of hosts. Say you're parsing nmap output. How would you structure that? How would you set that up? Say you're brute forcing a service, RDP or whatever. There are RDP modules for Python, by the way. How would you structure the data that you're trying to feed to that service? And the output for that matter. I don't know. No, that's a good question. Why am I giving you 5 minutes to think about this? Well, let's, since there's not really a prize verse ideas, I just want to discuss this one.
Sure.
Okay. Go for it, man. What's on your mind?
From what I know of dictionaries, dictionaries are suited for key value pairs.
Okay.
All right. And then lists also.
Usernames and passwords will be a good one.
Okay. So let's say, and tuples, you can throw that in there as well, right? So you've got, so we're brute forcing RDP, right? Let's see, we have, just as an example, we've got maybe 20 different usernames we want to brute force. No, that's,
You can use a list for order.
yeah, maybe 2 different lists, one for users.
But you can't do that for a dictionary.
Passwords? Yeah, you can't do that. Because then you'd have to say, okay, this user, and then here's a list of passwords, and you would be storing the passwords 20 different times. So that wouldn't make sense. So you're right. That would, the use of a dictionary in that instance would be wrong.
You could use 2 lists and then store the output in the dictionary, so that the passwords match.
Right. Outstanding. So sometimes we have to consider different structuring for the output. So that's definitely something to consider. So maybe a list of output successful attempts to a list with the username, password, and the IP in a tuple, or maybe even output it to a dictionary. So entries without an index or need for alternate reference are best suited for a list. If you don't need to, there's the thought, how to explain it. Basically anything that's that you don't need to reference. It's like if it doesn't, if it's a list of hosts, you're going to want to know the attributes for that host. But if it's just a list of IPs and ports, then just roll with the tuple, right? There's no reason to create a dictionary out of IPs, and all you're going to do is add the port onto that. It would certainly work, but maybe more expedient to make a list of tuple values. The point of this exercise is just to consider that. Consider your input, your output. Especially, I've seen some guys on Twitter lately saying it really stinks parsing in-map output. And I can really relate to that. OpenBoss, my goodness. I had to create some crazy, do some crazy stuff around their output because they'll have the definitions here, and then later on in the file they'll have, this service, this port, and then these are the vulnerabilities. So it's like nothing is all there together. So I had to create a dictionary for this host, pull from here, pull from there to create a dictionary of hosts with open services and ports and stuff like that. So just consider how we're structuring the data. So yeah, maybe I should pull that challenge out. That's not okay. Let's see what we've got here. Got about 40 minutes, so let's go through reusable code. So functions. We've talked about some functions. Let's see what we got. If you just want to add two numbers, this is kind of I don't know if I'm that strict about reusable code. Usually, I'm just going to have x plus y. But some people, they get pretty stringent about it. Is to do anything that you're going to be repeating more than a couple of times. Make a function out of it and just refer to that function. Let's see how that works. So these are just some examples. So we're defining the function add these, and then in parentheses on the side, this is what this function accepts for input. So when you call the function add these, it's going to look like this. Add these, and then 3, 2, or if you want to feed variables to it or whatever. And then the return of that is going to be to print. That's bad. Let us create a real function. Let's define. Wow, I'd love to make a little Mad Libs game. That'd be awesome. Libs. Noun. Yeah. What? 1, 2, 3. Verb. 1. Okay. And so. Yeah. That's gonna mess up. Okay, so noun. If I had kids, man, they would so love this junk. All right, so the third would be the verb, and then noun verb. Noun 3, verb 2. Okay, so let's do some ad libs. Cat.
Got the S on libs.
Okay. Thanks, sir.
You're supposed to wait a couple minutes to tell them.
Yeah, wait, this didn't work. That's okay, I've got the up arrow key. Alright, so the cat, goat. What do we have? Noun, noun, another noun.
Rhino.
Yes, rhino. Wow. Trying to avoid sexual references here. 2 verbs.
It's hard. It's
Water
really,
skiing.
really hard.
Are we not going free?
Yeah. Snow. Hope there's no English teachers in here. Snowboarding. Fighting. Fought. To fight. Okay, so what it did was you ran that function, took those variables, and then printed out. Okay? So this is just printing something out. So technically what you would want to do for an actual function is return something. Okay? So we just redefined that function. Okay? So we run the same thing. It's not just going to print it. It is going to x equals libs. So basically what it's going to say is the object that is returned here is going to equal something because it's returning value. Okay? Whereas before, it wasn't going to return anything, it was just going to print this out. No return. Huge difference there. If you don't care about getting information back from the function, Mad Libs, we don't really care, I guess. But if you want to return it and say x equals libs, now you can store whatever was returned from that because it's been assigned. Does that settle? Does that make sense? Okay. Yes. All right. So then we say x, and it actually returns something there. We can go and just tell it to print. Well, x equals enough. Well, let's just x. Right? X is nothing. All it did was print it out. Okay. That's huge if you're trying to say, okay, this function is something that reaches out to RDP and tries to log in with a specific username and password. You want to know what was returned, so you want to actually have it say return this, or for the scoreboard in there for the CTF. When I was writing it, I wanted to know is it a valid team name, so I have a function called isValidTeamName. And what that does is sees, if there's any crazy characters, make sure that it's all good to go, and then it returns true or false. So return true if it's a good team name, return false if it's not. And so what I was doing, I was saying, okay, if is valid team name, then add the team, right? Because you're saying if that function will return true or false. So in essence, you're saying if true, then add the team name. If false, add the team name, or don't add the team name. Doesn't make any sense at all. Let me try and bring that up. Let's see. It's a ridiculously long script. Yeah. Okay, let's see. Yeah, here we go. Is valid team name. So this function is valid team name takes the variable team. It's saying if it's not empty, right? If team, if you do something nothing. Wow. And re sub, using a method called whitelisting, which is a lot better than trying to blacklist, as we're coming from with that to validate data. Whitelisting instead of blacklisting. So I'm making sure that it is this content and making sure that that doesn't come up empty when I remove those characters, and not profanity dot contains profanity team. Okay, so if all that's good, return true. That means when we call this function, is valid team name fluffy money feet meets the requirements, that function is going to return true. So then we can say if this function, then do this. But if not, it's going to tell me in my little command console, there's an invalid team name. return false. So I hope that kind of illustrates what we're looking at. All right. Okay, make functions for repeated operations. Reusable and portable, that means you don't have to put the same thing in your code multiple times, because you may do it differently the next time you create it. Right? If you're like me, uh-oh.
What? Is there a reason to stop just because I'll walk in here? Where do those donuts come from?
The what?
Where do those donuts come from?
Krispy Kreme.
I need to make sure they're not poison.
Have at it.
This box isn't poison, I don't know about that.
He's licked everyone to make sure.
Yeah.
Is poison?
No, it's not. They can be poison.
So not only are they reusable, but they're also portable. You can take a function that you write in one
Can we
script.
put it back now?
Did you want this one? I licked it.
I licked them all. Great. They're portable, so you create something to validate an IP address. You can grab that and paste it in another script, ape your own code for that matter, and use it somewhere else. So that makes it portable, reusable. So what I want us to try and do here is this little exercise, is to create two functions. I want one that will provide the output for the division of two numbers, and then another one that will print a sentence inserting a string. So you guys can take a second and do that. It's not a challenge, so if anybody needs some help, we're right here. We can even talk through it if you want. Print a sentence inserting a string and divide two numbers. These are the examples that we had.
One that divides and one that does what? Just prints a string.
Adds as a string to a sentence. Thanks for coming by. Appreciate it. So I'm going to need you here next year, because I'm going to do, if they let me do it again, it's going to be Python 3 class.
Nice. Yeah, I'll definitely be here next year. This is my first time here.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
I remembered you from last time. That's good.
I wish I would have known about this years ago.
I'm glad you're here.
Thank you.
Been a great help. So I didn't realize it, but so that's the answer to the second one. The answer to the first one would be to rename the function and then put your little slash for division. But yeah, if those are running, go ahead and call them. I would encourage you to practice that to see if you're able to call your newly written function to see if it works. And see if you can have it return something. Try to have it return and then assign that return to a variable.
What's your Twitter handle?
It is AL14. Okay. Anybody got anything? Did it work for you? Still giving it a shot?
What did you say your Twitter was?
AL14S.
Well, if they all for it, well,
The one for RAR is Rapid Web Anomaly. If you guys are familiar with that or not. Yeah.
Record the file. If you're doing this via script.
Yeah, that's what
Any questions on that? Did it work for you?
How do you create the reusable code in one file and reference it in another?
Say again?
How do you reference it? How do you create the reusable code in one file and reference it in another one?
That's good. There's a complicated answer, and then there's the easy one, C&P, copy and paste. That's usually what I do. But, yeah.
Would you use namespaces and then import a namespace?
Right. And that was the complex answer. You're actually creating your own, or I guess your own module effect.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can create your own module, import that, and then reference functions off of that, or you can just copy and paste it. We'll go over that in a second. Sir. Plus equals. And if you find a better way to do it, let me know, because I don't know one. Okay. Any more questions on functions? These will be the backbone of your scripts. And usually when I'm writing a script, the layout that it'll be is, you want to define your interpreter at the top. Script comments, and then have your classes, your functions, and then start with the main portion of your script. So I don't know if that helps at all, but that's, if you're writing a novel, you start with the preface and then the script. Okay. If we're through with functions, let's head on to generators. So they're going to generate data from a given pattern. I'm not going to go too deep into these. You want to generate a bunch of zeros, odd numbers, credit card numbers. When I was testing my credit card scripts, after that whole thing blew over, they saw it a really, a need to be able to make sure that we didn't have that stuff in the data on a regular basis. So it was good to have scripts that would do that, and in order to generate the test data, I went around to my team and got everybody's credit card number. No, I wrote a script that would generate valid credit card numbers that I could use to just plan in files along with my team's credit card numbers. All right, so and these are important. So why would you ever want to create a generator that would just blast zeros? Wipe them dry, maybe, I don't know. Odd numbers, there's uses for them. They're just niches. They're just little things. But so modules and packages. I guess we'll spend some time on this. So some ones that we use quite often. URLid2 for working with web content. Pulling down websites, parsing them. CSV is a good module for turning a CSV. I think it pulls it into a dictionary, or at least makes it parsable, pulls it into lines and lists. Sys, interacting with the command line, and RE for doing regular expressions, OS for working with, so at os.system, you can actually execute a command line statement by os.system, or os.topen, os.subprocess. So these are really good ones. I use all of these on a regular basis except for urllib2. I've kind of switched over to one called requests because it's a lot, I guess it's easier. So, all right. sys.argv will let you reference arguments that were passed to the Python script. RE, like I said, that's regular expressions. You saw me use re.sub earlier to substitute a PRNG, a regular expression for, to define a regular expression with which to substitute a string inside the string. So that's really fun. What you can do is go to docs.python.org, and do I have internet? If I've got it, I'll pull it up. Because this, I spend a lot of my time here, Stack Overflow, places like that, because I don't ever consider myself to have, for obvious reasons, I haven't attained, the immutable status as a programmer. There's always somebody out there doing something that's just a little bit smarter than the way I've got it. So let's see if I can get out to docs.python.org. Come on. Firefox is like, this could be a bad thing, so we're not going to let you do it at all. I love you, Firefox. Okay. But if you go to docs.python.org, it'll take, say, like the datetime module. That's one you don't want, right? It'll say, okay, these are all the things you can do with the datetime. Here's some examples on how to use it. Incredibly helpful. Like I said, I spent a lot of time out there. Third-party modules. I talked about requests earlier. GTK, if you want to use, you want to actually make a UI to work with. The nice little window reminds you of some C++. It'll look pretty. Use the WebKit. Ghost.
What's Ghost?
Ghost is, well, it's a headless browser. I use it for a headless browser. In RAR, you've got the option of using that, taking snapshots of web pages. Cool. It's pretty cool. Socket, deal with connections. Using Socket, you can define timeouts for the ports. It's incredibly useful, especially when you're standing up Python-driven services like websites and stuff like that. As a matter of fact, so a while back I did a little client-server thing where I had two machines talking to each other. Opened a socket on port 80. I connected to a server on port 80, and I received the first 1024 bits, and I printed out that banner, right? So what's the use? What's the use in that, right?
You get banners, you know if it's vulnerable or not.
Right, absolutely.
I got a question for you.
Yes, sir.
Say you had a range of subnets. How would you iterate through the range?
Yeah, that's a good question as well. So I would have a function that subnet range, maybe call it subnet range, and I would feed an IP in there, and the subnet range would see if it's got a slash in there, and just parse that out based on that. You would have to, you just have to
take a little work.
Yeah. I don't think that there's the risk of being wrong here. I don't think there's a module that will do that for you. But that's a neat little challenge. I would gladly accept that. So, but basically with this, I mean, say you're port 25. You want to see how it reacts, how the mail server reacts. 22, 23. See what version of Telnet they're running. See what FTP server they're running. Bam, right there. So s.close, I think, is what's missing here. So don't let this be your entire script. But yeah, that's the start of it. And like I said, docs.python.org, they'll let you know, some of the more intricate pieces of that. But that'll get you the first 1,000 bits. Requests, this is why I like it. It's just very, very simple. Request.get URL, print the result. And that may have to be a result.content. Yeah. I may have to test that too, but I can. All right. But yeah, request. I'd recommend trying that out. If you like URL-lib 2 or URL-lib 3, just try them out. It's good to kind of see what works, because they all have their differences and they all have their ups and downs. So sometimes I find myself importing requests and using it for a certain point and realizing that URL-lib3, I'll have to import something to change the way a port reacts or something like that. And just to know how each one's different and how each one works, it's a good idea. Just for an example, maybe a couple of years ago, I compared all of the ways to open and iterate a file. And let's look for the fastest one, like reads versus the amount of memory used and all that stuff. And it was neat. I mean, it took me like 3 hours. Wrote a few scripts to see how long it took to execute each one. Real scientific-like, right? And yeah, it's really beneficial now. So I know, the quickest ways to open and iterate through files. There's quite a few of them, I assure you. So, good exercise. Helped me learn a lot about Python. So classes and modules are collections of classes and functions, pre-written to perform complex functions. All right, so requests. Basically, it is a collection of classes and functions that. So it defined a class, and that class has a get function within it. So when we were back here, we said get URL, and so that class had a function that was that took a URL and all the code written in there to get that URL to parse it out. I think it even uses URL-lib3. I think it's a wrapper, but. So that's what those are. That's what modules are collections of classes and functions. Right. So that's not helpful. This is good. This is good. So if a key doesn't exist, you'll get what's called a key error. I just pulled open a Windows command prompt for others. All right, so let's see. Wow, I seem to be lost. Hey, that whole Pokemon Go map is fun, wasn't it? Make a little money off that. Anyway, you'd be surprised. All right, so the dictionary class. I don't think I can do that. I don't think I can demonstrate that one right now. But let's. So for the HTTP class that I've got in here. Did rewrite one thing. Yes. Okay. So, yes. Okay. This is a good example. All right. So the class here is a base HTTP request handler, and I imported that at the beginning, right? But it was logging messages to the console, right? I couldn't have that because I wanted clean, organized errors, right? I like my errors clean and organized. So what I had to do was say, okay, for this class. I want to redefine log_message, and I wanted to just print this out. I wanted to do this in this format. So I redefined that. I also redefined do_get to do exactly what I wanted it to do instead of whatever it wanted to do to serve up files. I think it was. I'd rather be much more programmatic about it. So what I did was I took this class and I said I'm going to call it this, and I'm going to base it on that. Redefined these, so it kept all the other properties except for that which I have redefined, and voila, right? So when I say, okay, I want to set up an HTTP service, I want to use HTTP handler to handle it, then my custom class here with my custom definitions was used in place of that. So now instead of just printing a bunch of gobbledygook out on the page, we're actually printing some nice things. So I hope that clears it up a little bit. All right, so next. We've got about 8 minutes left, so we'll try to do this one. So, real world application. I find password spreadsheet.zip more often than you would expect. So, on a pen test, we find this, and immediately I shift this off to my crack server. I'm like, okay, we need to go against this. We need to find this because, passwords, right? So, what do we have here? Import zip file. So this is a module that works with zip files. Define our file as zipfile.zipfile1.zip. So this just says, okay, it's opening it as a zip file, and I'm opening my password list, and PWL is the password list, and then saying, for each line in my password list, try to extract it. And if it fails, I don't really care, right? So, otherwise, if it's successful, print this out, and down here I should probably have like a break. So when I break out of the folder, we don't care about all the other passwords because we've already found the correct one, right? So this works. There may be a ton of other faster ways, but I find that a try, accept, fail right there, I mean, that's a very quick way of testing and continuing to the next password on the list. So there's your example real-world application for using third-party modules to help with pen test or for security-related items. And to test that, right, we can say, why don't I just go ahead and do that? That's a pretty cool little example. All right, so Python. All right, so our password list. Sorry, keeping your password. Why didn't somebody tell me? I mean, cupcake. Air changed. Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Go slow. Yeah.
Somebody I work with was seriously using that as a password.
Password
That's what I got on my luggage.
Ooh, yeah.
Password.
Yeah.
$sign.
Tor.
Yeah, Tor. Okay, so that's what password is, right? Okay, so we got that. Let's go into Python. Let's not. Let's say echo our secret message into hot text. So go through zip it. Don't tell anybody. Okay, so we're zipping that up. We're setting a password tool, right? Top text. Okay. Hey, why are you doing this? Wow. Okay. Could have put it in a better place. So, 1.zip is our 1.zip. So, let's see. Let's go back to our script here. Demonstration. Let's go ahead and make another one. Come on. Fix it there. Get it zip crack. And, I will go ahead and demonstrate a good test loop here because it's probably needed wires. So this is just basically using I guess. And we're coming up on 12, guys. If you guys got to be somewhere, do your thing. I'm going to go ahead and finish this one out. This will be the last example. Yeah. If there are any questions, I realize that this is 3 hours to dump a ton of data on you guys. If you have any questions, I've got my Twitter handle and my email address, social security number, stuff like that on the last slide. So if you guys want to hit me up or buy stuff on my account, I'm more than willing to interact and help you guys along with that. So, Python. Contrary to popular belief, programming does require correct spelling. All right, so import zip file. And the way that I found out how to do that really is through docs.python.org. That was in one of their examples on how to unzip a file. Here we go. Realize it's kind of small, guys. Apologize for that. I did. Where is that? Oh, he opened it. All right, so in all its glory. All right, there's the brakes. All right, so plus X zip crack. Okay. So comes in pretty handy. And
That was quick, too.
yeah, well, let me do my password. But that try accept loop, I mean, that's just, that is flipping quick. So, what did we get out of the Python class? We wrote some file, right? Right. Some stuff, we've got like 30 seconds left, but FTP lib, work with FTP services. SCAPI, you can create network traffic, monitor network traffic. This comes in really handy. I can't even count these, but PXSSH is another good one. Paramiko is one that I use. Paramiko.
It is nice.
Oh yeah. For interacting with SSH, a lot of my interactions with that I use Paramiko. Let's see. Here's some of the stuff that I've used as well. So the Overt SDK, use that a lot for dealing with. We do a lot of work with Rev and their cloud offering Rev-M. So working with that, it's a good SDK for it. Subprocess for, say, you want to run a ping or something and catch the output for it. It's great. This one right here is awesome, XLSX writer. So a lot of the reports that I make, I'll parse like SS output or nmap output, and you can actually write your spreadsheet report, and it has all the formatting options. You can put formulas and stuff in there. That's cool. But yeah, it's crazy helpful. Paramiko RE get pass. If you want to securely get someone's password in the command line, get pass, and then store that into a variable. Progress bar, SQLite 3. I mean, you don't need me to read all these, but LXML is really good for parsing XML. I use it for HTML. A lot of people swear by Beautiful Soup, but I took a little bit different direction there. So, Shelve allows you to store Python dictionary type objects into a file. So it's kind of like SQLite 3, but you're storing that. You can retrieve it as a dictionary. It's pretty sweet. eval is evil, right? So your eval is if you want to evaluate a string as a Python command. And some people use this in websites and open themselves up to pretty bad, they're not able to correctly validate user input, and passing that to eval allows the user to execute Python commands as the user running the service. So that was just released. Maybe I can retweet it. I think I did. So check my timeline.
It's kind of like using shell equals true when you're using subprocess.
Yeah, it's not the most intelligent thing to do. And I've done a lot of unintelligent things, right? But it's just something you got to learn not to do. Be very careful with eval in user-facing applications. So, shootil base 64, right? So base 64 is 1, and then I don't have I didn't put an enter in there or line space, but base 64 will help you encode, decode, base 64 encrypt. But basically you're importing that to encode and decode base 64. Shootil helps you work with files. It's very handy. So a lot of good stuff on there. And take out the buffers there. But does anybody have any questions? Questions on anything we presented, modules?
Have you, it's kind of a little off topic, we didn't cover it, but Django, have you touched it at all?
I've worked with it, yeah.
Is that what you program the school board in?
No, it's pure Python.
From a web framework, did you like it? What are your thoughts on it?
I'm still pretty new to it.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting. Yeah, I like the amount of control.
Okay.
I've used it before. I loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
it's
use it
nice.
before you love it. So. Maybe you can tell me a few things about it. 'Cause, like I said,
It's been years, but I mean, Rails is a nice one too.
I know, we're going to
Ruby's a lot like
Yeah.
Python. I love Rails.
So there's my information.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for showing up, man. I'm glad you did.